Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the pit lane. 2021 British Grand Prix. Controversial, incredible drive from Lewis, but I do think that this is just proof of how good of a driver Lewis Hamilton is. I mean, ultimately, he's not the one that decides that the penalties give away, or Red Bull doesn't decide who gets the penalties and what the amounts are. So the stewards decided, Lewis overcame. He won the race. Hey everybody, before we go any farther, if you could just do me a huge favor, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, drop a like, drop a comment below, and make sure to hit that notification bell. It really helps out with the algorithm. I am loving doing this. I would love to get more people in here for more content, and obviously would love more discussions. And yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for making a pit stop here at the pit lane. So, just jumping into everything, I thought it was quite an interesting beginning to the race for sure. Obviously, we had the red flag there with Max going off at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Basically, it felt like I'm super happy that he's okay. It looked a little bit like the wind was knocked out of him, had a concussion. So we'll see what happens coming into the next round. I know the FIA is taking things very seriously when it comes to head safety. I know obviously a lot of research from the NFL has been taken over to Formula One with the type of impacts that people are taking with these. So ultimately, we'll see. We could have a stand-in driver for Max. Really, it makes the standings interesting for the Drivers' Championship as well as the Constructors' Championship. So we'll see how everything happened. Yeah, sprint race weekend format. So start of the race, everybody gets to choose which tire they want. Everybody went for mediums except for Sergio Perez. Sergio, the only one that actually went on the hard tire to start out everything with. Red Bull with an interesting tire strategy with Sergio as soon as Max went out. They swapped everything out, put him on mediums, and then at the very end they put him on some reds so they could get the fastest lap away from Lewis to just take away that extra championship point for the fastest lap. So all in all, things didn't work out too terribly for Red Bull considering what happened. I mean, Sergio was out of the points, but ultimately they want Max to win that first championship. So the sprint race yesterday really helped out. Instead of Lewis pulling away, technically scoring 25 points for the race win, he really only scored 22 since Max got the 3 extra, keeping him 8 points ahead in the championship rankings. So we'll see how it plays out, but I do think that there's going to be a lot of backlash for everything that happened on that. Obviously, coming out of the first lap, you have Lewis coming in beside Max on there, clipping the back tire, Max spinning out, hitting the wall. But what do you think? Should he have given room? I mean, did Lewis not take the corner hard enough to hit the apex there? I mean, it's really up in the air, but Lewis just was able to pull it out in the end. I mean, he had a 10-second penalty. He overcame it as soon as he got past that Ferrari. Gone. Didn't have a chance. Going back to the beginning of the race, before everything really started, they're just going through the paddocks and just randomly Tom Cruise and Harrison Ford are chilling in the pits. Tom with Mercedes and Harrison Ford with Williams F1, which I think is a very interesting choice of teams to chill with. But if he's a part of that capital group, who knows? I mean, he could be a partial owner of the team and we'd never know. But I mean, we might know. I mean, watch him just have his face just on there. Just Williams coming out with a new Star Wars livery or something. I think it'd be hilarious. We had a total of 120 to 150,000 people in attendance just for this race alone. So that's not even for the entire weekend. They said it was 350,000 plus. So great turnout for an F1 event. So really love seeing the sport where it is. I mean, everybody coming back. It was hot. It was 86 degrees over there in the UK. The track temperature was 120 degrees. So I'm surprised the tires held on for as long as they did. I was expecting them to just shred from what we saw after the sprint race. But I mean, they were going flat out in the sprint race, so tire conservation obviously came in. But then again, I'm not an F1 crew chief, or I don't know how the tire wear really affects depending on how hard people are pushing or the tire wear. So a lot of teams conserving. We're able to go a lot longer than the 17 laps that we saw in the sprint race. So all in all, it was interesting. Very exciting beginning. Kind of meh middle, just with some tire stuff. And then a very exciting finish there for like 2 laps. And then it wasn't exciting anymore as Lewis just pulled away. So happy to see him win there in UK there at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. So, I mean, ultimately, I think that he had like a great performance. So coming out of the first lap, we're sitting there at the red flag. We're just waiting for everything to get started. There's a lot of time spent to these first 2 laps just because literally nothing else happened of note during the race. I mean, it was played out pretty much how it was. I mean, we had the team orders for Lewis to go past Valtteri, so obviously Valtteri is going to be upset about that. When they were in the pit lane, one of the things I saw was Mercedes fixing one of the front wings with duct tape and super glue. I have done plenty of those type of bodywork repairs on my car, so that is 100% pit lane approved. I am all about it. Way to use that ingenuity, Mercedes. Ultimately, Hamilton got a 10-second time penalty for the collision he had with Max. Was it enough? Should it not happen? Do you think it was just a racing incident? Me personally, I do think the penalty was good. Was it severe enough? I don't know. I honestly thought that he would probably get a 3-place grid penalty for that just because of how they've really been cracking down on driver safety. I mean, obviously there was an accident that was involved, but you're really just saying that someone hitting the wall at 150 miles an hour while somebody pushing them off. I mean, last week we got 5-second time penalties, so somebody crashing from somebody else's incident causing move at 150 miles an hour is only a 10-second time penalty. Like FIA, there's some inconsistency there, and I don't know where we need to be on this kind of stuff, because obviously Max was okay. Thankfully, he had a concussion, but was it enough? We had a great restart there with Leclerc. I mean, I thought Lewis was about to get past him real quick, but Leclerc was able to just drive around the outside there on turn 1 there and really hold off for the entire race. I mean, he led the entire race until 3 laps to go. I was really hoping there that Lando was going to be able to catch up to Valtteri with his tire strategy, but ultimately, I mean, McLaren's not really anywhere. Sainz came back up to 6th. I mean, I thought that he had a solid race. Ricciardo was in 5th, Lando in 4th. So, I don't know. I mean, Ferrari's showing a lot of pace there. Obviously, they can't keep up with the Mercedes, and if Red Bull was still in it, Red Bull probably would have taken the race. Max launched off the line, and it was probably the best lap of racing that I've seen in a long time, if ever, honestly, like at least live. This is like my second full season being able to watch F1, really knowing about F1. But the one thing you don't see in F1, like at least lately, is a lot of engine issues. So we had Charles having a lot of issues with that Ferrari engine. Apparently there was an issue with the electronic mapping of the engine itself. They were having to have him adjust stuff on the steering wheel and everything in order for him to keep the car running, basically. So really great driving by Leclerc. I think that it cost him the race if he was having the engine cut out. I mean, he probably could have pulled away farther, maybe pitted a little bit later. I mean, we had issues with the actual pneumatic guns in the pit lane trying to get the tires off. The lug nuts are hotter than they normally were. So there's a lot of different things that could have happened differently, and I was fully expecting that the dirty air from behind Leclerc was going to keep Hamilton back longer, but Hamilton, just being Hamilton, blew right past. We had Vettel retiring from the race. A lot of them were speculating that it was just to make it so he wasn't doing anything in the race. He wasn't going to point. So if there's an issue with the car and they retire it, they can change something on the car saying that it's broken without having an issue going into next race, or like a penalty with the parts being changed on a car. I was really hoping Charles was going to be able to hang on there on lap 50. They're coming around turn 1 again. Lewis he was putting it. He didn't care. Like he knew that Max went off right there. He clipped the back tire, and Charles gave plenty of space, and then had a little blip of the throttle and just got out of it. And Lewis is just on the way. I mean, so Lewis P1, Charles P2, Valtteri P3, Lando P4. Lando actually moved up into the 3rd position. So awesome for Lando in the Drivers' Championship. We'll see how everything gets cemented closer towards the end of the year. I really think that Ferrari might be pushing McLaren to go for that Constructors' Championship position for 3rd. So we'll see how everything plays out. But thanks everybody again for taking a quick second, checking out the pit lane. A lot of talk about the beginning of the race, not a lot happened in the middle, and then a little bit of action at the end. All around, pretty exciting. I mean, it was the first full race, full fan, so it was a great weekend. But we'll see you guys next time.